Good afternoon. This devotional is being recorded for Tuesday, June 29th, 2021. Hebrews 11 listed a majestic roll call of the heroes of the faith, including some of the horrific consequences to having faith and living faith in the midst of an unbelieving world. Then in chapter 12, the author of Hebrews uses their example to explain the benefits of being disciplined by God. Now, we want to be adults, making our own decisions, being responsible for our own choices, living our lives the way we want to, having a significant level of self-determination, and not being yanked around by anybody. Then this author reminds us that we are subject to God's discipline. We cannot call him Lord unless we yield to his influence to mold and shape our lives. Hebrews chapter 12, verses 5 through 12, and I'm reading from the New Living Translation, second edition, says, "And have you forgotten the encouraging words God spoke to you as his children? He said, 'My child, don't make light of the Lord's discipline, and don't give up when he corrects you. For the Lord disciplines those he loves, and he punishes each one he accepts as his child.' As you endure this divine discipline, remember that God is treating you as his own children. Who ever heard of a child who's never disciplined by his father? If God doesn't discipline you as he does all of his children, it means that you're illegitimate and not really his children at all. Since we respected our earthly fathers who disciplined us, shouldn't we submit even more to the discipline of the Father of our spirits and live forever? For our earthly fathers disciplined us for a few years, doing the best they knew how. But God's discipline is always good for us, so that we might share in his holiness. No discipline is enjoyable while it's happening. It's painful. But afterwards, there will be a peaceful harvest of right living for those who are trained in this way. So take a new grip with your tired hands and strengthen your weak knees." According to this passage, God uses discipline for several purposes. The first is to remind us of the parent-child relationship we have with God. No matter how much of our life we are adulting, we are to still kneel before God and recognize his authority in our lives. His authority comes along with protection and love. We should submit to the discipline of God and thus learn the lessons he intends. The sooner we learn, the sooner the discipline eases. Another purpose of God's discipline is that we might share in his holiness. Holiness is that sense of being set apart from a sinful and fallen world, that part of us that is different from the corruption of the world. God's discipline is not a punitive action. It is a training and transforming action to bring out the best in us, like a musician being disciplined enough to practice and improve skill. A further purpose of God's discipline is to move us toward right living. We're so prone to take the easy way out, to choose the easiest path, that God's discipline helps us to choose the correct path and to live rightly. Then the author of Hebrews lists a last word of encouragement in this passage. He says to take a new grip with tired hands. That's a biblical way of saying, hang in there. He also says to strengthen your weak knees. That's not only a physical characteristic, it's an emotional characteristic, encouraging us to stand straight and tall, not with wobbly, rubbery knees. God's discipline is not meant to break our character. It's meant to help us stand straight and tall, facing challenges with strength and grace and dignity. May you be disciplined this week. You will be the better for it. God bless you.